I'm joined now by Paul Embery from the Fire Brigades Union. And Paul, we now know at least 7 other blocks in England, but quite possibly more out of these 600 have similar cladding to that at Grenfell Tower. Why do you think they do have that cladding?
I think probably because we didn't know about cladding in the way that we tragically have found out over the course of the last week. And I think also one thing that needs to be looked at, it's not just the material that's been used in the cladding and the combustibility, it's the way that it's been fitted as well. That could have an impact if there's a void between the building and the cladding. That could act as a chimney. So, I mean, I'm not speculating on what the cause of Grenfell Tower may or may not have been. It's too early to say, but all of that needs to be looked at.
But we said that people may well be watching us and they'll be worried about this if they live in similar buildings. But let's just be clear. If the buildings do their job, if they're built a bit later than the 70s perhaps, they tend to contain the fires. They don't reach the cladding necessarily, unlike Grenfell.
They should do, and that's why what happened at Grenfell is so unprecedented. Normally, the fire should be compartmentalised in a tower block. The flat itself should be able to contain the fire with the integrity of the walls and the fire doors for 30 to 60 minutes. But what we saw was something unique and really probably forces the fire service, I think, to rewrite the rule book in terms of understanding fire.
And what about the morale in the fire service at the moment? I spoke to some of your colleagues in the hours after they were in that building fighting the fire. They were exhausted, they were shocked by what they'd seen nothing like it, and we've obviously heard that from many firefighters since. How do they feel about the general situation then at the moment?
I mean, you look at the praise that's been heaped on firefighters, and rightly so, because they performed heroics and went above and beyond the call of duty, as they often do. What they want is for politicians not just to praise them at the scenes of major incidents, but to actually look closely at the service and to stop the cuts that are taking place. For example, 11,000 firefighters gone since 2010, several stations closed, hundreds of fire engines decommissioned. So it's that needs to be addressed, because that's what's affecting people's morale.
I mean, it is fair to say that fires that kill people have gradually gone down over the years. Just looking at the government figures, they come down from a peak in England of 444 deaths in accidental fires in 1991 to 191 last year. So it's more than halved. So you can see why perhaps there have been cuts to fire provision, fire prevention in that time.
Although in England they've gone up by 15% for the last recorded year.
So there have been spikes along that time.
Yeah, and our view is very simple, that there is a clear correlation between the cuts that have been taking place and the impact of those cuts in terms of longer response times, because you have fewer fire engines, fewer fire stations and firefighters, and the fact that fire deaths are now going up. That's what needs to be addressed. Response times are crucial. If you're trapped in a fire and a fire engine takes 2 or 3 extra minutes to get there because your local fire station is closed, that could be the difference between life and death for many people.
Paul, many thanks.
Pleasure.
Next, a damning report has criticised